All right, so thank you for tuning into this channel and tuning into this video. So this video is going to be about the full moon happening on the 22nd of November 2018 between the Sun conjunct Jupiter in Sagittarius, its home sign, and at the polar end of this Gemini moon with Mars in Pisces squaring both the Sun and the Moon. Now we're going to explore this main planetary configuration with another in relation to the energy that occurred at the new moon, because remember, we got to understand this full moon energy in relation to the new moon energy, because new moon energy was the beginning of it, the root of it, the planting of the seed. So it gives us a context for this full moon energy. All right, so let's jump right into it. This full moon is occurring with the luminaries placed within the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. Okay, this polarity, this duality is emphasized and brought to the surface. It is illuminated by the luminaries. So we got the Sun and Jupiter, the Sun being the divine spark within, the circle of spirit symbolizing the totality of consciousness, and the dot in the middle representing that divine spark within all aspects of creation that are a reflection of that totality slash spirit or consciousness. This Sun in conjunction with Jupiter, the crescent of personality above the cross of matter, symbolic for the higher self, the aspect of self that has a perception that is higher or more attuned to the fabric of the natural laws of creation. So these two energies combined, Sun, Jupiter in Sag, is an inner attunement. Let me give you some context. So we just ended Scorpio season, right? Scorpio season, what is Scorpio about? Going into the underworld slash Pluto, facing our personal limitations and our faults and where we have shortcomings. You don't hear, or maybe you don't hear Scorpio being described as such by other sources, but where else, when in life do you come to the point where you're like, fuck this, I'm sick of this. I gotta transform, I gotta grow, I gotta evolve, I gotta transmute myself, these elements of self. I gotta become more confident. I gotta rely on myself, become more independent and self-reliant. I gotta be a little bit more brave, not as timid, not as shy. You know, it's basically what I'm trying to get to is when you hit these rock bottom points, when you face these areas in your life where like shit just doesn't work out and you're like, I'm sick of this, I gotta transform myself. It's in those phases when that Scorpio energy of like, I gotta transform myself comes into being. When else do you want to transform? When else do you want to evolve? When you come up against that rock bottom point where you're like, fuck this, I need to level up. So that phase is where we've been with Scorpio season, especially with the Sun, Jupiter, Mercury, especially Venus retrograde, 40% of the cosmos having occupied this archetype of Scorpio during Scorpio season. This phase has been a lot of unearthing, exposing a lot of our faults, a lot of our quote unquote darkness, shadow aspects. Parts of ourselves that we might have disintegrated and disowned and or suppressed that show up in some type of way as a projection or some type of irrational fear or timidness or trauma or sorrow, but some type of strongly charged emotion projected out that we had to basically confront, to reintegrate into ourselves is basically the main theme of Scorpio energy. And with Venus having been retrograde in Scorpio, a lot of it had to do with relationship dynamics, especially because of the Grand Cross that has been going on and is still going on between, that Venus that just exited its retrograde period with that Uranus opposition and the lunar node square. So I won't get into that yet. But basically, Scorpio season, a lot of confronting shadow, a lot of exposing and unearthing of our own personal faults and personal limitations to evolve and to transform is the main theme. Now, at the tail end of this Scorpio season, at the last degrees of Scorpio season, for at least a week, the sun created what we call in astrology a grand trine aspect between the North Node in Cancer and Chiron in Pisces, retrograde. So two things about this. One is that this trine between Chiron and the North Node is very powerful and symbolic for the times right now. The lunar nodes are very, very critical if you're trying to study astrology and look at where are we at as a collective in terms of our evolution. By that I mean where the North Node is at is where I like to refer it to is the North Node is the northern oscillation point, the northern oscillation point, the forward movement of the moon, or the personality or the ego, the vessels in which we utilize, the forms that we utilize to give a vessel and the container to spirit to actualize. So let me get less metaphysical. This ego, this personality you see in front of you, that ego and personality you're sitting within, that was born, grew up within a certain family, culture, ethnicity, upbringing, economic, cultural background, has experience, has this personality and the self that you know yourself as, that is the moon. The South Node is like familiar patterns that you fall back into. North Node is the evolutionary path that we're drawn to. So the North Node being in Cancer, trining this Chiron Pisces for the collective is basically North Node in Cancer is the evolutionary lesson that we're all learning, which is establish your own emotional security from within. Be your own biggest supporter. Really nurture your inner child and take care of yourself first are the lessons of Cancer. And this is why one of its symbols is the crab that carries its home on its back, that feels secure wherever it goes and doesn't get tossed to left and right, to and from by the tides and the ebbs and flows and the waves of the emotional tides and the feelings of the collective, but instead is centered within the self and the own inner light and is therefore grounded in the self. So that's the evolutionary path that we're all being drawn to. Create that emotional security within. Trining that Chiron retrograde Pisces, again, Chiron is our healing abilities, our spiritual path, the wound that we are all alleviating, that we're all healing, that will bring up the blessings of our gifts, that will unearth and expose our abilities to heal ourselves, and therefore will be the development of our healing abilities to heal others around us in our environment as well. In Pisces, this is regarding divinational skills and working with universal energies that align us with Source and have us experience our individuality as an extension of Source. Remember, Pisces, last sign of the zodiac, seeking oneness and unity with Source / really connected and aligned with Neptune, the cosmic sea, the cosmic ocean, the fabric that connects and unifies all of life is Pisces Neptune energy. So this trine is all about the collective establishing that emotional security within, and by doing so unlocking this ability to heal the self and to heal others around us. The sun coming into the last degrees of Scorpio, activating that grand trine in the last week and a half, has been basically a reflection of the end result of all this transformation and exposing and confronting of our inner darkness, specifically and especially in terms of relationships, because of that Venus Scorpio retrograde period that we all intensely felt, right? Between our relationships with friends, with romantic relationships, with platonic associations, with partners at work, co-workers, whatever type of interdynamics we are involved in, right? Is where we saw the main emphasis of this Pluto Scorpio energy being brought up to be exposed, confronted, transmuted, and reintegrated. So at the tail end of the Scorpio season, the sun walked into these last 10 degrees of Scorpio, activating that trine, therefore reflecting the self being uplifted into this more spiritual, higher realm where it gets to be connected to our spiritual path / North Node in Cancer, establishing our emotional security within. At the tail end of Scorpio, we kind of get that. Okay, I gotta acknowledge the waters. I gotta take care of myself, that child within. I gotta make sure I'm good. I gotta make sure that I'm always right there by my side and I'm checking in with myself. Because I go through some shit, I've gone through some shit, and I gotta take care of me so I'm good for everybody else. And in healing ourselves and really taking care of ourselves, then we learn how to truly even have anything to heal others. It's almost like we embrace and embody this like King of Cups, Queen of Cups energy, right? Like we get in touch with our intuition, with our inner self, so we can really nurture and take care of ourselves. And in that process, learn how to heal ourselves and how to work with these inner energies that are quote unquote occult, but they're just energies, right? Vibrations that we work with, things that we do, rituals that we do that don't necessarily have to mean that we draw circles and we light candles, but rituals that we practice with intentions to clear energies, to create and manifest. And in that sense, we start being able to heal ourselves, work with multidimensional energies, and work with them to heal others as well. And this is the North Node in Cancer, emotional security established within, working and manifesting and activating that Chiron healer energy in Pisces, working with cosmic universal energies at the tail end of this sun walking into the last degrees of Scorpio, being activated in this grand trine aspect, is basically just reflecting our evolutionary state. And now with the sun coming into Sagittarius, creating an exact conjunction with Jupiter, the higher self, the higher mind, there is an attunement. There's almost like the higher self has taken the driver's seat. We're just like, we just got in the car and we're like, whoa, okay, so I guess I'm driving now? Like the higher self is like taking on, directing and navigating the journey. This is the collective theme. This is the collective feeling at this point. Okay, so to sum it all up, to synthesize it, to give you like this narrative from beginning, new moon, to fruition, culmination, illumination, full moon. During the new moon, this occurred in Scorpio. A seed, a potentiality in darkness, creating a trine with Neptune, the cosmic sea, the cosmic ocean. Neptune in Pisces. There was a potential in all this healing that we went through in Scorpio season. The potential in that seed was an attunement with Neptune, with the cosmic sea, to feel the unifying field of consciousness and to feel that oneness, that divine love, that astral matrix that is Neptune. To experience that oneness is a potential during that new moon phase. Remember, new moons are the union and the marriage of the sun and the moon. There being a unification, a marriage, an impregnation, you can say, of a new solar tone within the vessel of the moon. and then from that new moon phase, waxing all the way to the full moon phase, there's a certain culmination of that light, of that potential. So that grand trine, that trine was there, Sun, Neptune. Another thing that was occurring that's pretty important during the new moon that carries on until the full moon phase is this trine between the North Node in Cancer and Chiron in Pisces. This is this evolutionary calling that we're all feeling to nurture the self. So during all this emotional healing that we've done, that we're doing, has us potentially be connected to universal energy so that we can utilize it and have it at our disposal to utilize and experience ourselves, individuals, as one with source. There's a potentiality in that. And at the same time, establishing that emotional security within North Node Cancer activates her healing abilities. That is already a potential ready to be activated effortlessly, hence why it's a trine and not a square, an opposition, or a conjunction. It is a trine. It's already a gift that we're handed off. So in doing this emotional clearing within this new moon Scorpio energy, that potential between that and the trine with Neptune, Pisces, will activate that healer ability, Chiron Pisces, by establishing that emotional security within North Node Cancer. This was the seed that was planted. That was the energy that was a potential on the 7th of November during the new moon. Fast forwarding to now, the full moon phase, on the 22nd of November, now you have the sun walking into Sag, conjunct Jupiter, the higher mind, the higher self. So that potential of working with the astral matrix with Neptune, the cosmic sea, the universal unifying field and divine love, consciousness, is now a complete possibility with the alignment of the higher self and the will slash spirit slash the sun in Sag, the archetype of humanity liberating itself from the lower nature. That's why its symbol, it's a centaur, half human, half animal, with a bow and arrow, with an arrow pointing heavenward, symbolic for the struggle within of liberating ourselves of our lower nature to reach higher levels of consciousness and of being. So this is what we're embodying during this full moon. We're embodying that archer. We are that Chiron energy. We are that centaur that completely aligns with this Chiron Pisces energy that's still in the full moon, is creating a trine with that North Node Cancer. Again, establish your emotional security within, taking care of yourself, become your own biggest supporter and nurturer, and become that maternal force to yourself. And in doing so, you learn how to navigate these inner energies and these inner archetypes that are universal within you and within all. And as so below, as within the microcosm, within you, as so above in the collective, in the universal. And then you can work with universal energy slash why there's this grand trine with Chiron in Pisces, why we all know we're all so in touch and have some type of divinational modalities, some tarot cards, some crystals, some type of healing modality that we practice, that we're learning. This is why, it's right there for us to just pick up and activate, but through establishing that emotional security within is, again, the only prerequisite of this. And so this alignment during the full moon of the higher self is pushing us to learn new different things, slash the moon in Gemini. Mars in Pisces squaring these two, it's like there's some eagerness. Mars wants to get into action, but is a little bit of a dreamer. So this T-square, as we call it in astrology, in these mutable signs that like to just spread all out, explore all new different ideas, has us kind of up in the clouds. Maybe it's not as grounded as practical. But at the same time, we got Saturn, Pluto, South Node in Capricorn, which is asking all of us, slash evolution, the root of all planetary cycles is this Pluto in Capricorn, calling all of us to establish careers and work that is in alignment with our soul purpose, is at the same time a very grounding energy. So even though there's all this uplifting spiritual energy, there's a real bottom line, straight to the point energy that we all collectively feel and are embodying. Like, we get how real shit is and how we can't just be up in the clouds, spiritual and light and love, and forget about the realities and the responsibilities, and really just have some self-discipline, right? So this is the main energy. And I want to paint a picture for you guys, paint out the context, talk about the energies, and not so much tell you exactly what it will mean, because for all of us, it's very unique. For example, some of you might have, might be like a sun in Gemini. And so this moon in Gemini affects you a little differently. Or maybe you're predominant, have a stellium in Mars, and this Mars falls right in conjunct with your sun in Pisces as well. It means something a little different, and the aspects that creates, right? But this is a general tone and the themes. There's been a potential, and that's that new moon energy. And now there's an alignment / sun conjunct Jupiter. And now really we're taking the driver's seat. The higher self is taking the driver's seat. And now there's different things that we are now aware that we need to learn that'll take us to the next level in being able to embody that Chiron healer energy and become an extension of Source, capable of utilizing and manifesting with universal energies of consciousness / Chiron / in Pisces. And something very particular that I'll leave you with is December 6th is an epic day. As you might be able to tell by now, Pisces and Neptune energy is like being highlighted and highlighted and highlighted over and over and over. There's a pattern here, right? On December 6th, a few things happen. Two things mainly. You know how I said that during the last week's Scorpio season, the sun walking into the last 10 degrees of Scorpio created a grand trine between North Node in Cancer, water element, Chiron in Pisces, water element, and the sun in Scorpio. The grand trine was activated. Well, on December 6th, Mercury goes direct, 1, and 2, lands on that exact same Scorpio degree that the sun was in when it created that grand trine. So that grand trine between the North Node in Cancer and Neptune in Pisces gets activated again on the 6th of December when Mercury goes direct in that same degree. That's one. Second thing that happens on the 6th of December is Mars conjuncts Neptune. Again, re-emphasizing this Pisces-Neptune energy, this healing, this capability to work with universal energies. This brings the personal will, the animal nature Mars, the circle with the cross above it, symbolizing the aspect of self that has to work with the 4 elements like a magician, right? Especially with Pisces energy, is attuned with that astral reality / Neptune Pisces. On the 6th of December, the same day that Mercury, the intellect, the mind, the intellectual abilities, activate this grand trine between North Node Cancer, Chiron, and Pisces, cosmic synchronicities, cosmic attunement, an ability to truly embody in our feelings and our emotions, an ability to intuitively sense the cosmic energies, the universal energies, to heal ourselves and use them to heal others in whatever modality is your choice, whether it's nutrition, whether it's using tarot cards, whether it's using crystals, using some type of health service or care rituals to cleanse and purge and detoxify the self, to purify the self. Whatever your modality might be to align self with Source, this is the time. The higher self is taking the driver's seat.